Hello, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. Happy New Year to you all. And before we can start the session, I would like to welcome one volunteer to pray for us, please.
Let's pray. Almighty Father, thank you so much for this precious day that you have shown us. Thank you for protecting us from last year up to now. And we're so grateful that we have been able to meet again, Father. May you guide us, be with us, give us strength as we're going to proceed with this lesson until you finish. I pray this, trusting and believing in Jesus' name.
Amen. Thank you so much, Sharon. Okay, I want to believe that Mr. Billy is in the room with us.
Yes, I'm in the room.
Okay, I would like to welcome you. Please proceed with the session.
Thank you. Hello, fellows. Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening to you.
Yes, I hope you had a wonderful holiday, and just want to take this opportunity to welcome you to this new year. I believe you have the energy, enthusiasm, and the spirit to continue with this session. This is module 6 of your learning journey, where we'll be looking at project management, monitoring, and implementation. Just give me a minute so that I share the slide so that you can proceed. Okay, so welcome to this module 6 session, which is project planning and monitoring. In our previous session, module 5, we dwelled much on implementing innovative solution for integrity, and that topic, module 4, which is building partnership for integrity. Module 5, which is which is implementing innovative solution for integrity, and also module 6, which is project planning and monitoring. They all actually work together, and you cannot when you build the skills that you build on one area will actually help you to succeed in a different area or a different field within all these aspects that we are going to look at. So what is project? What is project? So we're going to start by defining what is meant by a project. What is a project? So a project is a temporary endeavor. So before we look at that, let us look at the expected learning outcomes before we look at the project. So what are the expected learning outcomes? What do you expect at the end of this session? So at the end of this module, our participants should be able to understand the concept of project management. You should also be in a position to explain the essential characteristics of a project. And then also you should be in a position to describe the project management life cycle. Now, this brings me to the definition of a project. A project is a temporary endeavor that is undertaken to produce a unique product or a service, usually constrained by time, scope, and budget. Now, so what makes something to be a project is basically it has to be temporal. So that's a key essential characteristic of a project. It must have a definite budget. It must also be temporary. It must have a scope, and it must have a definite time. So, and this usually are constrained by the triple constraints, or rather the triangle, project triangle. So this is how a triangle looks like. So you can see the triangle, triple constraint triangle, how it looks like. So it has there's a scope on the other side, there's time, and there's also cost. Now, it is the three are very integral in the project, because when you increase the other two will definitely be affected. So that's why understanding how to balance these three parameters is very key for the success of the project. So the way you manage scope, the way you manage time, and the way you manage cost will definitely determine whether this project will succeed or the project will collapse. Because when you increase the scope, let's take, for example, the construction, and maybe in one way or another, the project was not able to be completed on time, maybe due to weather, or rather there's too much rain and you are not able to, constructor is not able to go to work, and also the laborers. So that means that this project is going to take longer time, and perhaps been seeing it is actually something that also normally happens on the ground, and we could be a witness of that. Sometimes when it's raining, they will see the laborers are there, they go to work, and then when it's starting to rain, they go and maybe find where they can maybe take a refuge. But the real sense is that when they resume, the actual amount of time that they could have spent in that particular project will be reduced. And this may affect the time and also the cost that will be incurred. And also, maybe, for instance, you are implementing an integrity project on the ground, and you maybe specified that you are targeting 100 people. So if you decide to bring 150 during the implementation, then it means that you are going to increase the time to reach to that particular the audience, or rather the participants that you've introduced will actually need extra time to be able to reach to those other participants that you are bringing on board. So when you increase the scope, you are also going to increase the duration. And when you increase the two, it means that even the cost will definitely be affected. So if you don't manage that well, then it means that we are going to run we are going to run over budget. And when the budget is exhausted before the project is completed, then it means that you are going to try to work out things so that you can see where to cut costs, and as a result of that, even the project quality might be affected, and as a result of that, this project may not live to witness its ultimate results. Next slide. Now, what is project management? So project management is defined as the application of skills, knowledge, tools, and techniques to complete the requirement of a project. And this definition is given by the Project Management Institute, which is a widely recognized body that certifies all the project management practitioners worldwide. So it also involves various policies, principles, and procedures to guide a project from the initial stage until its completion. So other than the applications of knowledge, skills, tools, and practices to complete the requirement of a project, it also expounds to various policies, principles, procedures, and techniques that are applied to ensure that the project achieves its set objectives. Now, what do I mean by the word, when we're talking about the skills, we're talking about those skills that the project manager, one needs to, to possess, or rather to build on in order to succeed as a project manager. These skills include IT skills. As a project manager, you need to be able to understand, you must have technical expertise. You'll be able to know how to use, these tools like, the Google platforms, the virtual platforms. You should also be able to, have a good mastery of Excel, and especially the Excel spreadsheets, so that you'll be able to use that in, in budgeting, and also other tools like Gantt chart that are used in tracking the project success. And also, you should also be able to understand the project techniques, whereby you should be able to understand, that all the projects, the project life cycle, all the stages in the project life cycle, and be able to manage the project from initiation stage all the way to closing phase. Next. Now, I believe most of you might have come across this word PM book, and they've been trying to wonder, what does this mean? What does the PM book stand for, or rather, what does it entails? Now, PM book basically stands for, is abbreviation for Project Management Body of Knowledge. And this project management body of knowledge actually was also invented by the Project Management Institute, and it introduces 10 knowledge areas, which represent a set of concepts, processes, and practices that are necessary for the successful project management. These knowledge areas provide a structured approach to handling the various aspects of a project. Here's an overview of each knowledge area. So we have these knowledge areas. So we have, number one, we have the project integration management. Number two, we have the project human resource management. Number three, we have the project scope management, project time management, project cost management, project quality management, project communication management, project risk management, project procurement management, and project stakeholder management. Now, project integration management entails whereby you bring various aspects or various approaches to ensure that the project is implemented in a way that it will be scalable, so that it can be able to reach out to a wider scope. So when talking about those integration, what are those things that we need to bring in? We're talking about, the tools like work breakdown structure, whereby we're able to bring many people on board. And these people, they have got diverse skills, and the work is broken down into smaller or rather sub-tasks that are given to different individuals according to their areas of expertise, so that we are able to they are able to work together to ensure that they achieve the common set goal. And then project human resources management also ensure that we have to ensure that we have a department of human resource that is also responsible for responsible for selection, onboarding, and also trainings of staff so that they're able to understand what they are supposed to do during the lifespan of a project. And then project scope management, I've just talked about the scope, whereby scope basically entails the area that's supposed to be covered by the project. And this area, we are not basically limiting ourselves to the physical geographical area, but we are also highlighting, we are also focusing on what are some of the, the key thematic areas that we need to focus on during the project execution. And like for instance, now we're going to implement an integrity project, and maybe some people will come and ask you, okay, you are also Youth for Integrity Building is a youth-focused organization, and there are some youths that maybe do not have school fees. So how do you support in that? So maybe that question may be somehow difficult to deal with, because that area may not directly, the area where the person is requesting support does not directly aligns with our scope of work. And then project time management, we also have to ensure that we take measures to ensure that the project is completed within time. Now, how do we ensure that the project is completed within time? Maybe, for instance, as project practitioners, sometimes you walk into an interview to be a project officer, and then you're asked that how do we ensure that you meet deadlines, rather prioritize tasks to ensure that you meet deadlines. So some of the strategies that you can use to prioritize tasks and ensure that you meet deadlines is having a work plan. You need to have a work plan in the first place. So when you have a work plan, it will actually help you to be able to know what is needed at what time, and also what is most important, so that when that you have a series of activities, you can prioritize tasks depending on importance, so that those that are important, you give them high priority compared to those that are less important. And then you can also use some of the tools like to-do list. So to-do list will actually help you to come up with a list of all the activities that you're supposed to undertake. And also you can also categorize them according to maybe high, medium, and also low. So when you give them that categorization, then you are able to prioritize those activities that are more urgent. For instance, maybe you are implementing a project, and then you need to maybe have a briefing meeting with the stakeholders. You need to do maybe you need to disbursed, maybe for instance, integrity, you want to have some maybe branded t-shirts or merchandise materials that are maybe speaking of the messages of peace. So in such a case, then before even you start doing the distribution and all that, maybe you need to have maybe a briefing meeting with the stakeholders, so that maybe you try to make them understand why you are doing that, so that even when they get those materials, now they know how they are supposed to use them. So that in that area, you can also plan properly and also prioritize tasks. And then project cost management is whereby you are able to apply those mechanisms to ensure that the projects is done, activities are done within budget. So this also another question that I also want to pose, that now how do we ensure that you keep on track within the budget. So how do we ensure that? So how we ensure that you are on track within budget is by, most various occasions, we normally have templates or financial templates that we use, and also the requisition forms and all that. So before activity is undertaken, first of all, you have to ensure that all the activities are approved. You cannot, maybe for instance, you'll be working in an organization like Youth for Integrity Building. Then you want to go to the field to implement an activity. Before you go to the field, first thing you have to ensure that you do a requisition indicating all the support and other necessities that you need. And then this need to be submitted to management for approval. So at some point, you may do a requisition, you have a field activity, and then your request is not approved. So what do you do in an event, in a similar case, when you do an activity request and then it is not approved? What can you do if it were you? Or maybe you submit your work plan to your line manager, and then then the work plan is not approved. What can you do in that situation?
Hello, good evening.
Yes, Alfred.
Yes, I can try.
Yes.
Maybe you can look for well-wishers or donors who are willing to help. Thank you.
Alfred, you've
That's
taken
my
it too far. You are in an organization working. You are working in an organization that are implementing a project that relating to integrity promotion in the community. And then here comes a case whereby there's a donor actually that already funded that project, because you cannot implement a project without a budget. So there's a donor that already funded the project, and you are a staff implementing the project on the ground. So you do a request to undertake field activities, and then the request is not approved, or rather you submit your work plan and the work plan is not approved. What can you do in that situation?
Hello, can I try?
Yes.
I think in that situation, when you submit your work plan and it's not approved by the manager or any other directors, maybe you should revise and resubmit again, maybe based on their feedback and maybe the response. Yeah, thank you.
Very, very interesting. What are these feedback? This feedback is what we are interested in. Sharon.
I see Anne has raised her hand.
Yes.
As for me, if I would have found myself in such a situation, I would agree with what Potolo was saying, that you go again and you work with the feedback that you've been given by your manager, but then you don't just work on feedback that you don't understand. If I'm in the meeting with the manager and the manager is telling me your work plan cannot work, so I will ask him or her, we sit together, he or she tells me where it is that I've gone wrong, and then we work on it. Maybe I am not working smart, I'm not realistic with the budget, or I have placed amounts where it shouldn't be. So that is the kind of feedback that I would want to hear. Is my work plan smart? Is it going to work for the organization? Because if the money is there and the work plan is not smart, then the project will not be implemented in the right way.
Wow. So just want you to get this right. I've seen people are, they are like you are taking a very long route. But let me bring the point home. When your work plan is not approved, or rather you've made a request to maybe to undertake some activities in the field, and then this sometimes you even fail to get feedback. You don't know why you don't get feedback. So in the event that when such happens, it means that your request maybe was not aligned with the detailed implementation plan, or rather it was not aligned with the organization strategic objective, or rather the strategic plan. So what you do is to ensure that what you are going to do in the field, or the request that you are making, aligns with the detailed implementation plan. So detailed implementation plan is a document that guides the process during the implementation. So what activities that comes first all the way until the till end of the project. So what you need to do is to ensure that you align the project, or rather the activities, to be in accordance to the detailed implementation plan, and also the organization strategic plan. So you need not to worry about the DIP, the project detailed implementation plan that I'm talking about, because before the end of this module, I'll be able to share with you a copy of the detailed implementation plan and also the project management plan, so that you can go through. Those are the project documents that are normally used, and they are very key in project implementation. So there's also project quality management. Yeah, so you also have to ensure that all the activities that you undertake, whether the services that you're providing are they meet quality standards. For instance, maybe you're doing a project of a water project, and then the bowl has been constructed, and then or rather you are maybe you realize that there's a lack of water, there's water shortage in a given area, and there's a stream that is passing by. So you want to tap that stream that is having maybe the water that is not conducive, so that you want to turn around and make this water safe for human consumption. So you also have to ensure that whatever procedures that you're going to use, from processing until the time that this water is now safe for consumption, also meet some standards. Because if you don't do that, then you are going to be against contrary to the requirements of the law. Because in event that water is not safe for drinking consumption, then it means that you are still, instead of solving the problem, but you are still putting the life of the people at risk. Then project communication management, you also have to ensure that there's a channel of communication. There's a good plan on how you're able to streamline the flow of information from the senior management, from between the project staff and also the external stakeholders. Then project risk management, also have to ensure that there's some risk mitigation plan, so that you're able to mitigate risks wherever they occur. And then project procurement management, This whereby there's some policies and procedures in handling procurement issues. And because when we don't have those procedures, then we may be at risk of fraudulent behaviors that may also subject us to losing the money. So you have to be sure that we have those procurement procedures in place, and also how we maybe in terms of how we get the clients, how we bid for how we call for quotations to get the bidders, and also how we do the evaluation. So also all those procedures also have to be very clear and transparent. And then projects stakeholder management. There's a document that I shared earlier that help us in identification of the stakeholders. What is the name of the document?
Stakeholders mapping tool.
Yes, we use a stakeholder mapping tool to be able to help us identify the stakeholders. And once when you use that stakeholder mapping tool, it also has got some, some criteria in terms of, criteria that help us actually know those partners that may have high influence in the project, and the ones that may have a moderate and low influence. So in that regard, we'll be able to make a decision in terms of which stakeholder will be of high influence and impact to the project. Next slide. Now, project management cycle. So we have 5 process groups of the project management, or rather the stages that the project undergoes in order to meet what it requires. So the first stage is initiation, and the second stage is planning. The third stage is implementation. The fourth stage is monitoring and controlling, and the fifth is close out, or rather the project close out. Now, initiation. What happens during the initiation? The initiation stage of a project is the first phase of the project management life cycle. During this phase, the project feasibility, goals, and key stakeholders are identified and authorized. So this brings us to the point whereby we are coming to understand the stage where we do the stakeholder mapping. So stakeholder mapping happens in which stage? In the initiation stage. And it's a critical stage because it sets the foundation for the entire project, ensuring that everyone involved understand the purpose and objectives of the project. Now, apart from stakeholder identification, in the initiation stage is whereby we also identify the project, goals, and objectives. So if we're asked which stage do we identify the project, goals, and objectives, then it is not the planning stage, but it is in the initiation stage. Next slide. Now, the key deliverables in the initiation stage, we have to develop the project charter. So a project charter is a document that formally authorizes the project and provides the project manager with authority to proceed. So that charter is actually what help the management to decide whether the project needs to proceed, or rather it has met all the required necessities, it has gone through all the approvals, and we can now make a decision to proceed with the project. And then there's also stakeholder register. It's also another key tool with that lists all the identified stakeholders and their relevant information. Then apart from stakeholder register, we also have high-level scope definition. We also do high-level scope definition in the planning stage. And this is whereby we have a broad description of the project's goals, deliverables, and boundaries. So I've just mentioned earlier about in the project's scope management. I say that in this case, whereby you need to have a description of the project's goals, deliverables, and also the border. So we have to maybe have some specify the deliverables, or rather the key activities that need to be undertaken during the project implementation. For instance, maybe you come up with your project, maybe you are tackling, you want to maybe solve maybe in your project idea, you want to maybe try to solve the cases of integrity maybe in the health sector. So if that was your scope of work, then you cannot turn it around, and then you also come back to health, to education sector, because your line of work was within the health, was targeting the health sector. And then approval to proceed. So the project also has to get some formal approval from the stakeholders or sponsors to begin planning and executing the project. So once you've been given a go-ahead, is now when you can now proceed to the planning and also the execution stage of the project. So before the project gets the stakeholders' approval and also go ahead from the sponsors, then at that point you have to hold on until such approvals are made. Now, so I want to tell you, or rather to give you a broader explanation on how you can think about your project overall objectives, goals, and outcomes using a tool that is commonly used in project management that is known as the problem tree. So a problem tree has got causes, core issues, and the effects. So at the root, we have the causes of the problem, then the core issue and the effects at the branches. Now, this is an example of the issue at hand, or rather what we can also call it the project description. In Garissa, the region has been experiencing prolonged droughts, leading to the drying up of wells and dams. As a result, access to safe and clean water has become scarce, creating intense competition among communities for the limited available water points. This situation has escalated into constant conflicts as people struggle to meet their basic water needs. The lack of reliable water sources has resulted in a humanitarian crisis, affecting the health, security, and well-being of the population. Now, so my question from that case study is this. What could be the causes of the problem? Now, even before we look at the causes of the problem, you cannot look at the causes of the problem without identifying the main problem. Now, what is the main problem from the description, project description above. What is the main problem? So what can you put at the roots, at the causes of this problem? Before even we look at the roots, what to be at the root, what is the core issue there? What is the core issue? It seems tricky. I'm not seeing any hand up. We are still brainstorming.
There are responses in the chat. You can check that out.
Okay, I can see some charts here. The lack of reliable water sources, lack of availability of water. So the ones in the charts will confuse us because we want to get the core issue, and then once we know the core issue, we want to ask ourselves what is causing this and what could be the results or the impact that this will have to the community. Yes, Sharon, what could be the core issue? Sorry? Drought?
I'm saying drought.
That could be the core issue. Drought causing what? Sorry? And this drought is causing what? That's making it an issue. Why is drought an issue? So she just mentioned that drought is an issue, and what is making it an issue is because it's leading to drying up of the wells and the dams. Somebody has also mentioned about scarcity of access to safe and clean water, and this is also caused by drought. I do agree. Now proceed to the next slide so that you can get the causes, the core issue, the causes and the effects. Now, so the core issue there is the constant conflict due to water scarcity in Garissa. So the constant conflict is becoming an issue because wherever there's no peace, we cannot live. Without peace, even access to basic needs becomes a problem. Without peace, even going to school becomes a problem. Without peace, even our daily lives, will be affected. So there's constant conflict due to water scarcity in Garissa. So that is the core issue at hand. So if we just talked about water scarcity or lack of access to water just alone, does not make it have an impact, So the impact, the main issue there is constant conflict. And this conflict is due to water scarcity in Garissa. Now, so having done that, the next thing is now to ask yourself, what is causing this issue? The issue is caused by prolonged drought, drying up of wells and dams, and over-reliance on limited water sources. Because of the drought, the water sources are very scarce. So when they're scarce, the people, they start scrambling. And when they're scrambling, people are more likely to, this scrambling is more likely to end into conflict and eventually the violence. So this is the main issue, and it is caused by the prolonged drought, drying up of wells, dams, over-reliance on limited water sources. So after mapping out the main problem, now the next thing you need to do is to map out the causes. Then after mapping out the causes, when you get back to the effects, now you ask yourself, now the constant conflict due to water scarcity in Garissa, what could be the impact of this? And the impact would be like loss of livelihoods, escalation of the social conflicts, education disruptions, environmental degradation, and so many other things, even in terms of even health will also be affected, because now that people are not able to get access to clean drinking water. You can also talk about the loss of livelihood in the sense that people will eventually lose their livestock because they lack somewhere to take them for grazing, or rather to maybe take them to drink water. So this is the way to go about designing a project, or rather defining the project goals, objectives. So first thing is to identify the problems. And identifying the problems, you need to start by getting to know the core issue, and then ask yourself what is triggering that, or what is causing that, and then you also get then you come back again to map out the effects. And then I also see the lack of water can also cause death. That's true. So we can also add death as part of the effects. Now let's go to the next slide so that we can now see how we can now whatever the conflict, those issues, how we can now convert them so that you can take advantage of that and be part and parcel of the project success. Now, once you've known the core issue was conflict as a result of lack of access to water. Now, our overall outcome now should be a peaceful coexistence with equitable access to water for all communities in Garissa through improved water management, better infrastructure, and sustainable water sources, reducing competition and conflict. So this should be our outcome. This should be our main aim, or rather the goal of the project. So we can convert that main problem, to be our outcome. So we want to, if we realize that the area is having a problem, experiencing violence because of an issue due to lack of access to water. Now we want to improve, see that there's a peaceful coexistence with equitable access to water for all communities through improved water management system, better, or rather having improved water management policies, better infrastructure, and also sustainable water sources that will reduce competition and conflict. Now, how are you going to achieve this? So how are you going to achieve the core objective? I'm going to achieve this core objective by having, ensuring that there's improved rainfall management. There's also restoration and rehabilitation of the wells. So those wells that are drying up, you can maybe do something to ensure that they are renovated. And then water conservation and efficient uses. So you can also take mechanisms to ensure that the water is used efficiently. Now, this can also help us in determining the objectives, the key objectives of the project. Now, what could be the project objectives from this? We've seen the core, we've now known the core issue, we've known the causes, and also the effects. And we want to turn that around, and we've turned that around to the project success. Now, what will now be the key project deliverables, or what should be done to ensure that we achieve our core issue? Yes, anybody?
Maybe I can say something.
Yes.
The core objective was why the achievement is to acquire clean and safe water for all the community. Accessibility of clean water and safe.
I'm just saying the project deliverables. What needs to be done for us to be able to achieve the project outcome?
Maybe I can try.
Yes.
They can also maybe try to liaise with the government officials, maybe the county or the people involved around that area, to ensure that that maybe if there is a project of enhancing a good infrastructure, it is steered on, or it is made quickly, so that it can benefit in ensuring the core issue is implemented.
Yeah. So what we can do, so this, can we go back to the previous slide, so that we can be able to map out the specific project deliverables from those issues, or rather the challenges that are there. So in other words, if I'm asking about the project deliverables, it's like, what are we going to do to make a difference, or to ensure that these people there's a experience change over time? So the first thing that we need to do is that we've ensured that there's a prolonged drought. Then this could also be as a result of maybe there's lack of maybe environmental conservation practices, like maybe planting of trees. Maybe could be issues to do with maybe there's the cars that are and also the cars, and also the industries are maybe releasing harmful substances to the environment and are causing unpredictable weather patterns, and which eventually cause drought. So we can also sensitize the industries. We can also ensure that there's the localization of industries. We can, so how can we do that? Maybe in terms of capacity building the government staffs, so that they are able to understand how they can make good policies and plans for the country. And then in terms of the drying up of wells and dams, we can ensure that we build more dams. We can build more dams and also renovate the already existing ones. If we do this, then it means that we're going to reduce that pressure of over-reliance on the limited water sources. Then something that we can also do is also to do sensitization to the locals community, so that they can also understand how they can they can understand the issues around efficient water management. Maybe during rainy season they can tap the rainy water and conserve it up to the next rainy season. And then in terms of also the still on the issue of capacity building, we can also build the capacity of the local leaders, because they are the people on the ground, so that they can also ensure that they implement programs and policies to ensure that there's efficient management of these water sources. If that is done, then we are able to reduce these problems that may eventually cause conflicts and water scarcity. Next slide. So I believe you have understood about the key areas of intervention. So the key areas of intervention is what actually will inform the project, the key project deliverables, and also the ultimum project outcome and the project output. Next. Now, other steps or stages of the project life cycle is project planning. After the project design, we proceed to the project planning. Now, in the project plan, this is whereby you assemble resources and also identify areas that you need to invest, or rather the key activities that need to be done to ensure that this project meets the set objectives. In the project planning, we use a document that we call a project management plan. So project management plan is what defines all the activities, all everything that is required to be undertaken to ensure that this project is a success. And maybe if you're asked now, how do we ensure that the project attains its objective? We ensure that the project attains its objective by measuring these things that were already stated in the project management plan. So without this, then it means that the project was not able to achieve its objective. And this also brings to this concept of, strategic planning. What do you understand by the word strategic plan? Is very strategic in whatever it's doing. What do you understand by that word term? To be strategic. Or what is a strategy? Is there anyone here with a background in business or administration to help us understand that concept of strategic planning? So this plan has to be very strategic. What do you understand by the term strategic planning? Can I see somebody saying may mean closing gaps for the possibilities of losses or failure? I see it is actually having some sense. I see that point, that point. Thank you for that person who has posted that. It means closing gaps for possibility of losses or failure. So I just want to give a practical example with this ant. I don't know, it's called this ant that this type of ant that normally work in a group, like the red ants. Yeah. So I want to give an example with the red ants. They normally work in a group, and their main objective is to totally destroy their enemy. So they want to totally destroy their enemy. That's their main objective. There's nothing else. Theirs is to ensure that their enemy is totally destroyed. So what they normally do, for instance, maybe they happens to be in a homestead. So if they happen to be in a homestead, what they do is they arrive as early as 6 or around 5, 6, they are just around. So you come, you enter into your house, you do your business, you prepare, you want to go to sleep, but the enemy is just around. They are just there, just watching. So they plan in advance up to an extent that at some point they might even send some few individuals just to come and do a spot check and just ascertain that everything is all right. So when the Ani Amps gets into the homestead, they will be strategic in the sense that once they get into you, or rather when they get the enemy, they will, even when they will actually climbs your feet, but they will not bite your feet. The reason why they're not biting your feet, have you ever asked yourself why does the red ants bite the feet, at the feet? It's because they are very strategic, they are very objective. They want to ensure that they want to ensure that they reach their destination. They want to ensure that their mission is accomplished. That's why they are not biting at anywhere, but they'll go, they'll maneuver until that time that now they feel that now they reach a place that they feel is now very soft. This where they'll begin their business. By the time you realize that they are there, in fact, even if you are in a gathering, you will be ashamed because you have the enemy is there with you. So that's how the red hats are very strategic. And in project planning, we are also expected to have that spirit that the red hat is having, so that we ensure that we accomplish the objectives that we are set to do. And then the project implementation. So what is project implementation? Project implementation is the actual work. It's where the actual work is done. After planning, now you proceed to implementation, to implement the plan. So implementation basically is where the things that are already set in the project plan is now put into action. And that's why, in other words, it is also called the project execution phase, because this is the stage where now you execute. It's where you put where there's the real actual work going on the ground. So you execute the plans. You put the plan into action. During the project implementation, there are some tools that are also being used. One of them is the the Gantt chart that is normally used to assign roles and responsibilities, and also used to to track the progress of the project, milestones, and results. So by using that Gantt chart, you'll be able to know which projects are supposed to be done at which stage and at what stage. So it is actually that Gantt chart that is usually configured with the detailed implementation plan. So when you configure the project Gantt chart with the detailed implementation plan, then it becomes very easy to track these activities and know when a project is, when a certain activity is supposed to be done. Then the next stage is the monitoring and controlling. And this brings me to maybe to pose this question: what do you understand by the word monitoring and evaluation? Actually, monitoring and controlling, at some point you can call it monitoring and evaluation. So what do we understand by the different terms monitoring and evaluation? To monitor means it is a continuous process of gathering and analyzing information to determine whether the project is aligned with the set objectives or the set goals. Evaluation, on the other hand, is now the periodic process of reflecting and analyzing information to determine whether the project is, or rather the project deliverables are effective or not. So the project monitoring, we are only interested to know whether the activities are on track. But controlling, we also want to control to ensure that there's also quality in terms of what we're doing. Monitoring also is done by the internal staff. Mostly monitoring is done by the internal staff, whereas evaluation is done by the external staff. And I've seen, in most cases, you've seen adverts where the organization is asking for research assistants, yet, and some people may be asking, why do they hire research assistants, yet they have staffs on the ground, or they already have existing staffs. Some point you may also be asking yourself, why at some point the organization may rely on engaging an external auditor, or rather engaging an external consultant. I've seen there's a case where, I don't know, some days back, the government was hiring auditors, and people were asking, why do they, engage an external consultant, yet there are so many staffs that have been hired that are on a salary and can do that work. Why? And then they ask, why should they rely on the internal staff to do that? The reason as why at some point we may rely on the external is because monitoring actually help us to identify some of the things that we could not see by just internal eye. So it brings engaging external stakeholders also help us to bring to also have a different angle of looking at our programs rather than if we could have just been looking at them from our side. So they can also help us gauge certain things that we need to have done well, but we're not doing them rightly, so that we can also speed up the game and be able to rectify all that. And then close out. So once we be able to do the monitoring, controlling, and all that, then we come to the final stage of the project, which is the project closeout. And people might be asking themselves, or maybe let me pose this question: why do we need to close the project? When the project comes to the community, people are very happy because the project is actually meeting their expectation. The project is solving the problems out there. There are a lot of sensitization going on. You know, there's people getting a financial breakthrough through livelihood projects. And the question maybe that I want to pose is, why do we need to reach a certain stage where the project has to come to an end? Why do we need to close the project? Should the project just continue? And why are we closing it?
I can try.
Yes.
Normally, before the project is initiated, there is a time framework under which the project is going to operate.
Yes.
So when it reaches the stipulated time frame, that is, and all the activities have been done and everything have been achieved, that is when the project comes to a closure.
Correct. Who is that speak? Who has just spoken? Was given us a very powerful 2 pregnant points. Actually, she has given us 2 points. The first one, she has said when a project is initiated, there's a time frame or a duration that the project is supposed to be implemented. So that means that when we are closing the project, it basically means that the duration that the project was to be undertaken has already elapses. Another thing, she has also mentioned that we close the project because the objective of the project has been met. So once the project has been met, it means that that project has to be closed because already its stated purpose has been achieved. Something else that can make us close the project? Yes. If someone was unmute, you can.
Maybe I can try.
Yes.
At times, some other projects may be closed due to shortage of funds. Maybe they were doing a project. Okay, they budgeted so well, but maybe the expenses were over exceeded what they wanted. So you find the project may not proceed. So they definitely close their project. I don't know if
Yes,
that is correct.
that's
maybe.
correct. So at some point we might also be forced. It is not that we are supposed to. It's not that the project has met all those requirements, but because of circumstance, due to lack of resources, we may also be forced to close the project. Other reasons, other factors that can also make us close the project is because maybe when other priorities comes up. We realized this the event during the time of COVID-19. There were a lot of fundings that were channeled to support other projects. But when COVID-19 came, now that was it becomes all the all the donors and all the and all the policy shapers and even the change agents shifted their focus to COVID-19. So when another priority comes up, the donors may shield all their support and channel it to where they feel that there is need. And also in the same regard, there's also the statistics, or rather the research that is being undertaken by the National Bureau of Statistics. It does not mean that the National Bureau of Statistics normally go to the field to collect this data by themselves, but at some point they also rely on the administrative data, whereby each department can get them information and then they consolidate them together and they publish on their website. So I read that maybe you are writing a proposal and to get funds to implement a project in a given area. And then as per the survey published by the government, the donor is convinced that this is the place that is the support, that such support is required. Then you may not be able to get that support because of other priorities that may come along the way. And also the project, we also close it so that we ensure that there's a community ownership and sustainability. So we also are doing these projects so that we are also able to empower the community so that they can take ownership of the project and continue with it even after the end of the program. So that's why even when the project comes to an end, we have to ensure that the community are sensitized, or rather their capacity built, so that they can able to continue with the program even after the donor withdrawal. Next slide. Yes, so that comes to the end of my presentation. Just want to take this chance to open the floor so that we can take questions and I'll be able to respond to them. So just raise your hand, and I'll be able to question. See, people are very quiet. It means there are no questions. And in my career as a trainer and a teacher who has taught for many years, I'm not convinced that people get it totally right. So if in an event that there's no question, two things normally emerge. Okay, I see Priscilla. Yes, Priscilla, you can go on.
So mine was just an addition.
Yes.
On that question that in the case that our work plan is rejected.
Yes.
So always there is a time, always a time frame you implement a certain activity. So yeah, it might happen that you do certain activities, maybe 3 activities for maybe a half an year, then the rest of the activities the other year. Then maybe a project is for 2 years or for 3 years, and you report half yearly or yearly, or yeah, something like that. So before you request for funds, always you have to give the work plan of what you're going to do with those funds. So maybe if whatever appears in your work plan does not align with the budget, that is when it might call for rejection, because everything should appear in the budget and should also match with what's in the work frame. Just an addition.
Thank you for that, Priscilla. That's actually ascertain that you are in class and attentive, as opposed to some other people who just log in and do other things. So this actually a reaffirmation that you are in class and you are following every bit of the presentation. That's great. Next. Any other question or comment? Okay, let me ask questions because I can see there are no questions, just to ascertain that you got the what was discussed right. What is PMBOK? PMBOK in full. What is PMBOK?
Maybe I can say
Yes.
PMBOK is a project management book, or it's a guide. Yeah.
It's a project management body of
Guide.
knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it contains knowledge in 10 critical areas. So what just mention, I want you to just mention these knowledge areas, the 10 critical areas that project management body of knowledge seeks to address, or rather highlight for the success implementation of the project. What are these knowledge areas?
Hello, my name is Benson.
Yes.
I can try.
Yes.
Okay. We have project integration management.
Mm-hmm.
We have project scope management.
Mm-hmm.
We have project time management, project cost management, project human resource management. We have project stakeholder management, project procurement management, project risk management, and more project quality management, and project communication management.
Wow, that was wonderful. It's actually, if I get people giving feedback, then that's a surety that you are in class and attentive. So let me also get from somebody else. There are constraints of a project. There are three main constraints of a project. What are they? The three main project constraints.
I can try.
Yes.
The scope, time, and cost.
The scope, time,
cost.
And cost. So the projects is usually constrained by time, scope, and cost, or rather the budget. And we had look at that using a project management triangle, and where we say that as a project manager, you have to be very keen to ensure that you balance the triple triangle, because if one side is overlaps, then it means that the other constraints will also be affected. We have also talked about some of the tool that is used in problem identification and also in defining the project overall objectives and the outcomes. Now, what tool is that we used in defining the problem statement, can also be used in once we got those problem statement and all that, now we can convert them now to project outcomes, objectives, and output. What is the name of the tool?
Okay, can try.
Yes.
Yes, the name of the tool is the problem tree.
Yeah, we use the problem tree in identifying the issues at hand. And we said that there are 3 parts of the problem tree. What are these parts?
I can
so-
do that one.
Yes.
The issue, the core issue, and the causes.
Okay, so when defining the problem, which area should you start with? Should we start with the cause, the root, stem, or the branches?
The root.
Start from the root.
Start from the root.
Yes.
Any other with a different opinion?
We start by the stem where we identify the cause first, then the cause, and then the effect.
I've seen there's someone with a different opinion. Anyone seconding? So I second him. So you should not start from the root, but you start from the stem. So I think it's just because of that mindset that the root cause. So we start with the root. No, you should always start with from the stem, which is the core. So once we got the core of the problem, then from there now we now map out the root, or rather the causes of that main problem, which is at the stem. And then after getting the root causes, then now we proceed to to map out the effects which comes at the branches. We have also talked about a document, or rather, we look at certain things that happens at the initiation stage, or activities that took place in normally take part in the in the initiation stage. Now, what are they? What are some of the activities that takes place in the initiation stage?
Yes, maybe I can try.
I can try.
Yes.
Mostly the state sets for the foundation for the project, and there is the setting of goals and objectives, developing of the project charter, registering the stakeholders, high-level scope definition, and approval to proceed.
Wow, thank you. I see this class was marvelous. So we do in the iScope definition, we do stakeholder identification, and there's also development of project charter, and also at the decision stage is whereby we seek approval from stakeholders and also from partners before we proceed to the next stage. So what are some of the features of a project? What makes something to be a project? Like there's normally the operational activities the normal operation that normally takes place in the office or in an organization. So what distinguishes a project and the functional operation? So we can distinguish this by looking at the essential features or characteristics of a project. Now, what makes a project distinct from the functional operation? The question that's the issue. That's the easiest question of all, and I don't expect people to be quiet. Or maybe I'll use jargons. I reframe the question. Okay, tell me some of the characteristics of a project then. I think now I'm very clear.
A project should have a budget, a guiding budget.
Yes. Uh-huh. Any other?
A project, I can say something.
Yes.
A project should have a start date and a end date.
Uh-huh. Yeah, so a project. Uh-huh. Go on.
A project is temporary and constrained by time.
Yes, so a project is also temporary and constrained by time. Uh-huh.
A project also should have a plan structure.
Uh-huh. Plan structure. So it must have a plan. Uh-huh.
A project should
something
have
In other words, we can say it must have an objective. So that's what he was trying to, a point was trying to bring home. So a project must have an objective.
A project must be achievable.
Yeah, sure. It has to be achievable. Something that you can achieve. Uh-huh.
A project should be realistic.
I think we are deviating. We are now mentioning some of the characteristics of an objective that just be realistic. Objective has to be achievable. So these are the characteristics of an objective and not a project. So just want to clarify on that so that we don't miss it out. So a project, what your colleagues have just mentioned, a project must be it must be time bound. It must have definite start and end dates. Project must have a definite budget. Must have a definite scope. A project have a life cycle, so that means that it has to be completed within the cycle. It has to have stages that it has to go for it to be able to achieve its objectives. And the the very last question is about the risks management. So we've talked about risk management in the part of the knowledge areas of the project, part of the project knowledge areas. Now, how do you ensure that you mitigate the risks and uncertainties that might occur during the project implementation?
I can try.
Yes.
I think it was the one starting with identifying the problem, having to do with understanding the core issues. Then project planning, strategy. We talked about strategic management, implementation, monitoring and controlling, and the closeout.
And in terms of risk mitigation, how do you mitigate risks during the project? Okay, so to effectively manage risks during the project implementation, there's somewhere where I mentioned about ensuring that your activities gets approval by the line manager and also the senior management in the organization. So by doing so, you ensure that you get the approvals in the sense that whatever activity that you're doing aligns with the organizational strategic plan and also with the budget. So if you ensure that when you get those approval, then it actually means that activities are aligned with the budget and you be able to mitigate the risk of maybe underspending or overspending. And then also having a plan, like a detailed implementation. Maybe you have a work plan that aligns with the detailed implementation plan. So if you have that work plan, you also be able to ensure that you are on the track and you're able to work within the specified project duration. There's also a tool that is used in risk mitigation. So that's what we use a risk register, just the same way in this during the project in the initiation stage, we use a stakeholder register to map out or stakeholder tool to map out the project's key stakeholder. We also use a risk register to be able to note down all the risks, and then from there you can maybe also give them category in the basis of maybe the ones that are high risk, low risk, and then from there now you find how you can you find a way in which you can now totally do away with those risks that may hinder the progress of the project. So request to stop at that point. Thank you for your time and also for being active and also for your contribution, your feedback. This actually this actually an evidence that you are here for a cause, and also it shows your commitment to bringing change outside there in the community. So thank you very much, and I still wish you the very best as you proceed with this program.
Hello.
Yes.
Good evening, and thank you for the nice presentation. I was asking about the feedback on our assignment, the one we did last year.
The feedback, that is the stakeholder mapping, and which one else?
Yes, this stakeholder mapping, that one.
Okay, and so because today we were scheduled, actually that topic of the stakeholder mapping and also this project or the project implementation, actually they are hand in hand. So it is still in the very right time that the questions is coming in. So I think I can give that feedback in the next class. This feedback actually ought to have been given, but I think due to some other commitment, this time that I was missing in the program. So next week we'll be having a presentation session. So I think I'll be able to combine that with the presentation that we'll be doing in the next class.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, back to you, Grace.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Billy. The session was so interactive, so informative. And yeah, thank you so much. So at this juncture, I would like to welcome our ED. Please take the stage, Madam ED, if you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you. So thank you so much, Grace. Thank you so much, Facilitator Billy. That was a very insightful session, very engaging, very interactive, very knowledgeable. I really appreciate you for that. And I want to believe that the fellows have been able to understand the concepts of project management and monitoring in depth. I appreciate the tools that you've been able to share with the team, with the fellows. And I'm looking forward to them also reaching out to you in case they need any clarifications, any further support, because at this point, I want to believe that they've started working on their respective projects. So I believe that they will really need more support on that. And that's why I believe one of the fellows asking about the stakeholder mapping tool. So yes, so thank you so much. And thank you so much, fellows, for joining this session. I want to appreciate your interactivity today. You are so engaging. I believe it's a new year and you guys have started on a good note. I really appreciate you for that and I wish you a blessed year ahead. And thank you also. I see the board chair in the session. I'm not so sure if he is in a position to say hi. Okay, oops, he has already left. I'm sorry about that. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining, and thank you. I really receive our apologies from the other facilitator, Mr. Gerard Saleh. He's committed today and he wasn't able to join us in this session, but he'll be able to join the next session. Grace, I think I'll take it back to you. But guys, I really also reminding you to fill in the attendance sheet. It was shared with you guys. Kindly fill in the sheet before you log out of the session. Thank you so much and have a beautiful weekend ahead. See you on Friday.
Can we have one volunteer, please, to pray for us before we end the session?
Father, we thank you for this wonderful moment that you've granted unto us, Lord. We pray, Jehovah Father, that whatever we've learned, you give us reminding and make us practice. We pray, God, that you bless our faith.
Let's pray. Almighty Father, we are again grateful for this moment. Thank you for guiding us and protecting us until we finish our session. May you be with us, protect us as we go over for the weekend. Bless us, protect our families and everyone. And I pray this trusting and believing. Amen.
Thank you so much, Sharon. Have a lovely evening ahead.